Hey folks, this is Big Buddha. So, trying something new here. Gonna do a commentary on Sideways. One of the reasons I thought I'd give this a go is, well, like everything, it's an experiment. I thought I'd see if I could talk for, let's see, this film is 2 hours and 1 minute long. Sort of half an hour longer than an actual comedy, I'd say. Oh, a comedy should be. But I did a review video for this film recently, and nobody's watched it yet. So I thought and that's not you. Anyone who's watching this, that's not your fault. You'd be forgiven for not seeing it, because it was blocked by YouTube through copyright issues. They wanted to pass it by, I guess, Fox Searchlight first, see if it was okay with them. Why, out of the 100 or so, 200 videos I've done, many of which have had clips, they haven't blocked any others. I don't know why they targeted this one. To date, I've only had 2 videos blocked so far. One for this film and the other for a little short one I did on the Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was not even a proper review, it was just a 5-minute vignette, really. But they blocked that because I used the song Sweet Transvestite. And I contested both of those, and I on the grounds of fair use, and I got them to put them both back up. Whether they actually squared it with anyone, I don't know, or whether they just thought it wasn't worth it, or whether they just looked at the videos and just went, yeah, I'm really not infringing on anyone's copyright here too much. Yes, I use the footage in those videos from, and I think that their beef with the Rocky Horror Picture Show was me using the musical soundtrack, which they're probably even more worried about getting sued over. But in both cases, I repurposed the footage to my own ends. No one could go and watch my review and really of Sideways of this film and really come away thinking that they've watched the film, if that makes sense. The same with the Sweet Transvestite song. You won't watch my video to hear Sweet Transvestite per se, because it's me talking all the way through it. You just won't get any enjoyment from the song. Anyway, that's my very long-winded explanation of, well, one of the reasons why I wanted to do a commentary on this film. It's to remind people, basically, if you want a nice, tight, sort of in-depth overview of my thoughts on this film, go and watch that video rather than this one, because I suspect this one might be a little long-winded and rambling. I mean, here I am, nearly 4 minutes into the film. I haven't even mentioned the film yet. Also, I thought I'd do commentaries as well. I'd start doing commentaries because, I could cobble together a 2-hour video on this. I'm thinking of doing this in 2 takes, actually. Sorry to blow the magic for anyone, but I've mentioned before that I do like commentaries. I'm a big fan of them. I think it's a little disingenuous, actually, to do commentaries on somebody else's work. I'd far rather be doing commentaries on my own videos, and I may do some of those. Thinking around May time, it'll be the 3-year anniversary of the channel, and I always like to look back. And last year I did to mark the 1-year anniversary of the Big Buddha channel. I did. Oh, I'm just talking about the channel. I'm not talking about the film. So I'm going to talk about the channel a little bit. Sod it. I will get onto the film, honestly. But for the 1-year anniversary of the channel, I did a commentary on the very first video. Not a lot to comment on, obviously. It was just 40 minutes of me doing a single take review. So not a lot to say. Year 2 anniversary, I did a re-edit. I did a load of clips on that same first review, just to say, look, this is how far I've come. That was interesting and fun to do. And year 3, I might do a commentary on that. just back to the well. This channel's just always just going to be me looking at the king of comedy. Martin Scorsese's the king of comedy, over and over again. Where did I go with this? Yeah, no, I think I'll probably do a few other commentaries on videos where I feel I made a progression, really, because I have progressed with these. I feel I've gone from free-form reviews, much like what I'm doing right now, just free-form and ah reviews, analysis. I've gone from that to, tightly scripted, very analytical pieces. And it's been a steady progression, a steady learning curve, and I think it'll be fun to mark those. So that's what I'm thinking of doing for the 3-year anniversary. Maybe just 4 or 5 where I sort of the videos where I feel I progressed as a YouTube vlogger. If you think I have progressed at all, or am I just doing the same old shit? Okay, so 8 minutes explaining why I'm doing commentaries. Oh, by the way, I should explain, my intention with these are for them to line up with the film. If I do any more, we'll see how well this one comes out. But so I won't say, okay, start watching now. When you start the video, I'll keep trying to take screenshots whilst I'm watching this, but I might do that. I might do that separately because I keep missing all the best shots. Oxnard, California. No, I missed it again. This is going to prove too hard to do while I'm talking. I can't talk and do things. Sorry, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so I will never say, okay, go. If you want to watch along the film with my commentary over the top, then my intention is to design these so that they sync up exactly with the film, So I'll never say, okay, start. I'll never say press play now. If you've pressed play on the video, you should have pressed play on your DVD stream version. What I'm imagining is a lot of people who do commentaries, they maybe just do a thumbnail to accompany the commentary, like the poster of the film or something, or a Photoshop picture of themselves, inserting themselves into the poster of the film. My intention with this is to put screenshots of the film up periodically throughout. Look, there's one. Miles at his mother. Miles and Jack at Miles's mother's house. So you sort of you can keep up with the film and where I am. So if I refer to anything specific, I'll try and put up a screenshot. That'll be my sort of legally, my legal get around, because you can't just put the whole film up sans sound, unfortunately, on YouTube. The algorithm will pick that up and they'll say no, so you can't. This is just putting up. If you just put up the film, even if you've changed the sound, I think that's doesn't really come under the banner of fair use. But I want to give a good guide as to where I am in the film at the moment. Look, they're having dinner with mother now. So yeah, so there you go. That's my intention. That's what I want these videos to look like. So why sideways? Well, yeah, as I said, the video was taken down and for a week, and then it was put back up. Somebody decided it was fair use. I wasn't just they're getting very stringent with their copyright laws at YouTube. So I thought I'd do this commentary on the film, just to remind people that the video is out there, and they should probably go and watch that instead of this, because it was a good video. I was proud of that one, and unfortunately it's only had 2 views so far. I think one was me, just I view everything once through just to make sure it's uploaded right. Mrs. Buddha says I'm being a narcissist, but no, I have uploaded stuff to YouTube and it's come out all, it's buffered wrong or something, and it's all come out all glitchy, and I've had to re-upload it in the past, so I do need to watch them through once. And then I guess the other view was whoever, so some human being at the other end, whether it was at Fox or YouTube, who watched the video and decided, yeah, now this falls under the banner of fair use, so we're going to allow it. But unfortunately nobody else has watched it. So yeah, but I mean, please do check it out, because I worked very hard on it, and I was pleased with how it came out. And I really enjoyed making the video, actually, because this is a really good film, for one, and it's probably a film I wouldn't have thought to look at. As I've said, new subscribers to the channel, if you would like me to do a review for you, a review video, just nominate something, get in contact. I'm easily accessible. I try and reply to every comment I get in the comment section, and if you would like me to do a review for you, you only get one though. If you've had one before, don't bother. But Mr. Oskio recommended that I do Sideways, a film I hadn't seen since I came out, but it was a pleasure to go back and revisit this one, because it's a really, really good film. It really is. We just missed Miles stealing money from his mother there. Miles is a fascinating character in this film. He's flawed. I think these are very, very relatable characters. They come across as very human in the film, and that's because they're relatable, because they're realistic, and they're realistic because they're realistic, and they're realistic because they are flawed. They are flawed human beings. Miles is possibly a mediocre writer. Jack is a failed actor. Um, and the genius of Alexander Payne is he gives them these little character traits that don't portray them in the best light, but you do end up liking these characters because they're relatable. I think everybody's a lot of people can see themselves in Miles and Jack, warts and all. You know, there's traits in both these characters that I identify with. Maybe Miles more so than Jack, but there's traits in Jack that I identify with. He's got a kind of self-destructive streak almost. I think they both have, really. But Miles, although I'm not a wine connoisseur by any means, I said in the review actually that everything I know about red wine comes from this film and this film alone. Appropriately so, I am drinking Pinot Noir right now. Thanks, because it's Miles's favourite wine. But yeah, although wine isn't something I have an encyclopedic knowledge of, maybe like Miles, it's the obsessiveness that in Miles that is very relatable, and that's a very blokey trait. I think the things that fascinate us become obsessions almost. They become our passions. They become our life. You know, and Miles's life is wine and literature. Whereas if you watch my channel, you'll know that my life is movies and junk food. The great thing about this film, if you watch it enough, I love that's all. He sticks his finger in his ear to smell the wine. Why sticking your finger in your ear would help you smell the wine better and decipher the flavours more, I don't know. Apparently Giamatti took that from the real wine expert on set, who apparently would do that for real. He thought that was a funny little character tick. So he put it in his performance. Also the beard as well, actually, the thin beard, which I have to admit I've actually adopted for myself. My beard's gone very, very thin recently, and that's from watching this film a lot in preparation for the video. I got a bit sidetracked there. What was I saying? So the Windmill Inn, this motel room where they stay is so bleak and shabby. It looks like every motel room in America. They're all exactly the same looking. You go in, bathroom on the right or left, one bed or two bed, and a window and a TV. It's very little differentiation, and I think that the temptation would be to do something more stylized with the look, but Alexander Payne, the director, keeps it very real. You know, these feel like real locations they've gone to. I assume that's a real motel room. You know, it's not some studio set somewhere. Forget the name of the cinematographer. I do mention him. Oh, Pheedon Papa Michael. That was it. I covered this in the review. I said, and indeed it's in the making of documentary, that they wanted a sort of pastel quality to the footage here. You'll see here like the lighting slightly blown out over their heads. There's a slight blur to it, and that was, I guess, for two reasons. One, they wanted to make a 70s new wave comedy here. You know, they wanted to make a film that felt like it could have been made in 1969, 1971. You know, they wanted this film to feel like it came from the same era as The Graduate or Easy Rider or Midnight Cowboy. And that was reflected in the cinematography. They wanted that sort of pastel quality to old celluloid. Also, and I think the lighting, especially on that street scene and the one that's coming up later on as well, looks like it's shot by Spielberg. It looks like Spielberg lighting. It looks like Close Encounters, or even a Spielberg film shot today. So I think the idea behind the cinematography is twofold. One, to emulate the look of 70s New Hollywood, the pastel quality, and two, it's there to look like Virginia Madsen, the flames bursting behind her. I love that as she walks over. It's very subtle, but you'll notice behind her the flames fire up. This is the fire that ignites in Miles's heart. Is the mayor character. So what was it? Yeah, it's a film about characters who are drunk on wine all the way through, and so it's told from their point of view, and so I guess that's the other reason for this slightly fuzzy quality to some of the cinematography in this film. Paul Giamatti and Thomas Hayden Church. They're like an erudite comedy double act. This is a thinking man's buddy movie. It's a thinking man's knockabout comedy. And they look like a comedy double act. It's tall man, short man, you know. One's thin, one's slightly doughier. One's handsome, the other's a little funny looking. It's slightly believable as well. I think they're believable as friends because opposites attract. I think often with friends in real life, you get pairs who look like this. I mean, with friendships, I think you rarely get, because of projection. I think you rarely get similar character types, similar interests. Sure, with friends because you need to have that bonding, but similar characteristics less so because there's less projection there. You know, they say the worst traits you see in the traits you see in other people that really irritate you are probably the traits that you hate in yourself, and therefore with see, this is the scene I think where you get the real Spielberg lighting. I think this is just a gorgeous looking shot. So them walking down the road. But yeah, with friends, the traits that with good friendships, I think it's about uh, wanting to hang around with somebody who you feel is better at you than things, you know. And I think that's what it probably is the key to the Miles and Jack relationship here. I think you can imagine when they first met at San Diego State University, Jack saying, "I'm going to hang around with this guy because I feel intellectually inferior, and this guy's smart. So maybe if I hang around with him, I'll seem smarter because I've got a smart friend." Similarly, you can imagine Jack in his, say, Miles in his youth being sort of socially awkward character, probably not very successful with the ladies, still not very successful with the ladies. So, and he was probably quite flattered and enamoured of this jock type character coming into his life and wanting to be his friend and seeming really nice. And he thought maybe his charisma will rub off on me in some way. So that's why they seem like a very believable friendship. It seems like a very believable friendship to me. Paul Giamatti is one of our greatest actors. He's done a lot. Very smart guy. You know, he's in this film. He's whenever the camera's on him, he's always doing something interesting in his face. So many shots. Here we have some of that split screen work. Oh, I love this. It's got a great soundtrack as well. Now, I want to name check the person who did the score here. Unfortunately, I'm not at home at the moment, so I'm unable to fact check a lot of this thing. I'm just trying to quickly go over the IMDb page. Does it give? Can't even think now. I've had too much Pinot Noir. This could be where it all falls apart. Can't even think what you call a music writer in a film. You see, look with all these shots, the shots of the vineyards, the lights blurring, they're using, you know, the shots are going in and out of focus. They're overexposed, the lights blurring out the entire shot. and it's really capturing that sense of getting drunk. Sandra Oh, I think she's very sexy in this film. Again, it's very believable that Jack would fall for her, and she would fall for him. I can buy it all. I'm laughing at some of my my favourite bits of comedy in this film of Thomas Hayden Church. His "tastes great to me" line. He does it about 3 times in the film. I always find it very, very funny because it says so much about the character. He's been dragged on this journey. He's coming along because he wants to spend some time with his best friend before he gets married. Just look at Giamatti's face there. He knows exactly what's going on here, and he's not pleased because this guy's getting married in a week's time, and he knows he's up to his old tricks. The scoundrel. But yeah, Jack's come on this journey, and he's not really interested in wine. He's interested in drinking wine, but he's not interested in wine itself. He's not interested really in where the grapes came from or the process. But he's a nice fella, so he'll never be openly hostile to going around these vineyards. He recognises what a nice trip it will be. But he's got his own agenda. He's there to get his end away one last time before he settles down. Because like Miles, he isn't perfect. This is a great scene, I think. You get a lot going on in this one. First of all, you get a fantastic performance from Giamatti. You see the close-up on his face here. Just look at the pain. It's just there, and all he has to do is sink his eyebrows over his eyes, and it just registers pain. Then he starts acting like a petulant child. So you get this very good portrait of a guy going through a bit of an emotional crisis in his life, finding out that feeling betrayed, still not quite over the end of his marriage, which by all accounts he sabotaged. It's painful because I think a lot of people have been here. I love that expression too. So you get that, and then it starts to escalate. He grabs the wine, and from a scene of pain, it goes into this, which is a slapstick scene. 2 running down the hill, and we're into slapstick comedy now. And I'm not be quite sure. Was that like a half-drunk bottle that he grabbed? Because or was it a fresh one? Because he seems to. That's a lot of wine to drink in a very short space of time whilst running. So we go from, tender pain of a guy from at his wit's end to slapstick comedy, and then just a moment of beauty. He looks at the grapes and he sees the simplicity in the grapes and the things that he loves. And again, it's no dialogue, it's just on Giamatti's face. And it's achingly sad again. I love the mundane TV that they watch in this. Later on, I think Jack is watching some MTV show, which is basically just girls in bikinis on the beach dancing, young girls. But here they're watching golf. I think the guy misses here. Yes, a little visual metaphor there. Thomas Hayden Church is so good in this. It baffles me why he didn't do. He hasn't had more high-profile acting roles after this. He did this, and then he did Spider-Man 3. I mean, that could be your answer right there. He did Spider-Man 3. He was the Sandman. He sort of went from this quite a remarkable performance to a very, very unremarkable performance. A really by the numbers comic book villain. It's a real shame that maybe he just didn't want to be an A-lister. He would have been one of those late bloomer A-listers if he was. I think he was in his 40s here, maybe his mid-40s. But maybe he didn't want it all. This is really. I've only seen him in this and Spider-Man 3, and I don't think I've ever seen him in anything else, But he's really, really good in this. And Giamatti's really good in it as well, and so is Virginia Madsen, and so is Sandra Oh. It's like a quadrilogy of good performances. But with the other three, with Giamatti, it goes without saying. Giamatti's just one of these actors who's always great. I like him in so many things, but Giamatti's steadily been good in stuff. Hayden Church, yeah, is largely known for this and this alone, really. So here we have another great scene. This is one of the scenes that I highlighted in the review. And again, a lot going on here. You get Miles and Mayer, bonding over wine. A lot of wine talking. I'd love to watch this film actually with a wine connoisseur on Miles's level in real life, just to see how accurate. Because I don't know. I don't know if all this talk of Rieslings and Pinot Noir and Merlot and what's the really good wine that Stephanie has? I'll know later on when she pulls it out of the cooler. whether a wine connoisseur would say that this, what they're saying is good, is it does sound like the talk of real wine connoisseurs, or are they? Is it largely rubbish? So here we have this is the getting drunk montage, isn't it? This is where Jack has told Miles not to disappear to the dark side. However, unfortunately, he's taken his Xanax and he's mixing it with lots and lots of red wine, and as many people know, alcohol is a depressant. So when you drink that much, it's sometimes hard to slip under. You can see it in Jack's face that Miles is starting to talk, go off at tangents, and he knows the signs. He knows that he's slipping now. And look at this shot. It's there's like 4 or 5 emotions registering on Giamatti's faces. You don't even hear what he's talking about. It's just there. That's a great shot. And here, Payne sort of plays with time, cuts back and forth from the dinner table. There's lots of, I said in the review, there's lots of little tricks he does here. You'll notice that the camera goes slightly off. It's out of focus, the blurred out lighting, Miles is very drunk by now. And the blurring of time as well in the editing all adds to that. This is a different sort of drunk state than we've seen in the film so far. So far, it's been all sunshine and fun. This is the dark side of drinking too much, going to the dark side and making foolish decisions, like thinking it would be a good idea to phone your ex-wife and berate her for so he's found out that she's got to be married. There's another revelation to come, but that doesn't come until the end of the film, at the wedding. And you see, it's not dead on him. He's sort of walking in and out of frame, and he'll go from a classic sort of mid shot to just a close up on his mouth. And there his eyes. He keeps dotting in and out. It's like the cameraman's having trouble keeping up with him. Giamatti's great. Just with his little facial tics. So it's one of the best getting drunk scenes on film, I think. This all done with very subtle but very effective camera tricks and filmmaking tricks. It's like the getting stoned scene in Withnail and I. A lot of films would be tempted just to, when characters get high on film, to overdo it, with maybe special effects or filters. But in Withnail and I, they convey this sense of marijuana paranoia, just with a few very, very subtle effects. I think the camera just very steadily pans in on Paul McGann as presuming Ed is spinning the globe. going Rama, 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 Rama. And you get the sense that this guy's whiteying or getting the fear, as he puts it. But I'm not talking about that film. Maybe I'll do a with Nell and I commentary next. Maybe these could all springboard from each other. Excuse me. There we go. There's the revelation that he sabotaged his own marriage because Miles is both these characters are self-destructive in a way. Miles constantly he gets a glimpse of happiness in sight and he sabotages it. He self-sabotages it because that little. So I found that's one of my favourite bits. The little wow he does that. I don't know what it means, why he does that. But it's a great thing about this film. It's and the condom moment as well. One for you, three for me. Very, very telling. Just says it all about these characters. And his little, you sure you want to do this? He doesn't say anything. He says. So we go from a scene of full of pathos with him getting drunk, and we go to. But then the film throws at you two very funny moments there. So when it's a comedy drama, when the comedy's really funny, and then drama's really dramatic. So hang on. So here's the good wine. Let's get it right. Richebourg. Yeah. I don't know if you're a real wine expert, let me know. Are Richebourgs really good wine? Were they really peaking around then? Oh no, it is 61. Oh, that's the other good wine that Jack's got. He ends up eating in a diner, I think, at the end. So drinking in a diner or a burger restaurant, even a fast food place at the end. That's the one where it was a 61 were the 61s peaking in 2004 when this was made? This is based on a novel by Jim Norton. Apparently, the novel is the first of a trilogy. I haven't read any of them, but apparently there is a sequel to this and a sequel to that sequel. So there's three altogether. I believe the second one catches up with the Miles and Jack character a few years later. See how it ended up. So I guess you get the revelation there of whether he ended up with Maya or not. And I think the third one's called Chili, or maybe Sideways Chili. I'm guessing that this second one probably didn't sell very well. So the third one they had to. It was probably, I imagine, him just wanting to write it and call it Chili. But the publisher said, no, you got to call it Sideways Chili because nobody realised that the second book was a sequel to the first one. Cashing on the name. And that one's apparently about Miles in Chile, drinking Chilean wine. That's all I know of it. Maybe I'll get around to reading those one day. I mean, I don't know how much this film differs from the novel. It was written by the screenplay was written by Payne himself and his constant collaborator Jim Norton, who also wrote or co-wrote Election and About Schmidt with Payne. And did he write? He might have written The Descendants as well. I should point out actually now that I'm not. See, if I was in my office, I'd be able to fact check things with you, but I'm not actually in the office. I'm actually on holiday right now. It's Christmas, and I've gone away with my family, and I'm in a holiday home in bed watching this film on my own. My wife will be joining me in a couple of days, so I thought I'd do this now. Give me something to edit. But if I was at home, I'd be able to fact check a few more things a lot easier. But I think I'm doing okay so far. You may disagree. I've had a few glasses of red, as I said. This is a great scene. Not this specifically. This is all leading up to one of the great moments of the film, as I said in the review, the epicenter of the film, of Miles blowing it. I find this scene very painful. Part of the reason it's so painful is because these moments are so lovely. Them talking, them getting to know each other, and I think there is definitely a physical disparity between the two characters. I don't know if someone as attractive as Madsen would go for Giamatti, but she's a good actress, and usually when you get these physical disparities in films between the two stars, a good actor and a good actress, it's usually the actress who's better looking than the actor. The good actress will make you believe that they would go for somebody who looked like Giamatti. And I mean, I do know blokes in real life who are punching well above their weight. It does happen a lot. But it's when they come outside. It's when they're on the porch here. They start hearing Stephanie and Jack having sex, and it's killing the vibe a little. So Maya takes it outside because she wants to continue a sort of romantic ambience. And here she's listening to him explain himself, and she's realising he's got a good brain. She finds him funny, You can see it in her face. She's intrigued. She's thinking maybe this could go somewhere. And this is possibly my favourite moment in the film here. Maya's explanation of why she loves wine so much. I think having a passion is one thing, but I really like it when people are able to explain why they're passionate about what, because that shows a mark of intelligence, I think. And if you're able to, a part and a sign of emotional well-adjustedness, to be able to self-analyze, to explain why you're passionate about something like wine. And I think these thoughts here, she's obviously subconsciously thought about them, all about who pressed the wine, are they still alive, what were their lives like, the history, the fact that wine tastes different depending on what day you open it, and it could taste different on, it will always taste slightly different on any other day. I think these are subconscious thoughts that she's managed to externalize, and that shows a mark of intelligence. And this is the heartbreaking moment. Going for a kiss, you idiot. Why doesn't he? No. The pull away of the hand. He wants to continue focusing on the minutiae of his passion. And her expression just says it all. Is the bathroom through there? Yeah, you go to the bathroom, there's no... I've been here. There's no bigger passion killer than saying you're going to the bathroom. Sometimes that full bladder's really, really bugging you. Oh, and it just gets more and more awkward now. It's his own doing. Look, he goes in, he's slightly sweaty. He realised he should have gone in for the kiss earlier. And he goes in for one now. No, too late. You gotta strike while the iron is hot. And he's let the iron cool off. So the kiss has no passion. And all you get from her is, I have to get going. It's getting late. But she does throw him an olive branch here, to her credit. She asks him if he asks her if she still wants to read his novel, and to her credit, she says yes. All 2 boxes of it. And she does read it. And she likes it. And again, at the end of the film, she gives a very thoughtful, well thought out analysis of the novel and why she liked it so much. She's a very thoughtful character, is Maya. I think that's a funny touch, the second box coming out. She goes into the night. Tuesday. Yeah. Did you notice that? No? Something happened there. What was it? I'll tell you. It is now the next night for me. I thought I'd do this in two parts. The thought of talking for 2 hours straight isn't appealing. Let me let you into a little secret. That's how they do most of the professional ones, the director's commentaries. They don't just sit there. They take a little break, go and have lunch. Do one half of the film in the morning and the other half in the afternoon. Yeah, it's tough to just carry on. I think if I do any more of these, that's what I'll do. I'll break it up. So if I do a 90-minute movie, I'll do 2 45-minute installments. If I do a 3-hour movie, I'll probably do 3 3-hour installments, then do over 3 nights. But so I listened back to the first half after I'd recorded it yesterday, and I thought, oh God, what this really needs is more energy. But as you can hear, I'm not going to give it more energy because, unfortunately, as I said last night, I am recording this over Christmas. I'm on a holiday with my family. I'm relaxing, and so this is going to be a very laid back, sort of meandering, let's watch the movie with me video. In fact, if you've made it this far, I'd say this really is the best way you're going to benefit from watching this fan commentary. You've really got to have the movie playing as well. I don't think it's going to work just as a single podcast because, although I'm not specifically talking about the film here, I do keep referring. I did refer to the film quite a bit last night, and it's good to have those frames of reference. So I've just watched the scene where Miles is talking to Stephanie on the bike, and as they say actually in Giamatti and Hayden Church's commentary, that's a funny scene because it's two characters. It's the two characters in the film that don't have anything to say to each other because their storylines don't really intersect to any great effect. Stephanie and Miles's. And so Payne plays with this for a moment, that fact that here are two characters that don't really have much. They're the only two characters that don't really have any sort of connection in the film. Well, maybe Jack and Maya do as well, but you couldn't. That would essentially be the same joke, wouldn't it? Well, I think last night I'd had 3 glasses of Pinot. I finished off the Pinot now. I think it was Chilean Pinot. No, it's New Zealand Pinot. I thought about buying some Chilean Pinot today, but now I'm on a soily tasting French wine. I've been told by my brother, Little Buddha, that if you want soily tasting wine, then French is the way to go. Doesn't always have to be mega fruity. Oh, the film gets a bit lewd here. He walks in and oh my goodness. So I've got just a montage of clips of here. Miles, everyone's had a day on holiday like this, on vacation like this, of just trying to fill your day on your own, trying to relax, but with a general sense of ennui because you're on your own. I think vacations, holidays are best enjoyed in the company of others. Yeah, it was a little meandering, the commentary yesterday, and it was lacking in energy. But well, there you go. I thought I'd try and amp up the energy tonight, but as I've had the majority of a bottle of wine tonight, I don't think that's going to happen. So this will be what it will be. Maybe I might not. Will I put this out? Yes, I will put this out. I will put this out because let me just talk about the channel for a second. The Big Buddha is watching channel. I've been doing this for 2.5 years now, the channel, and my ethic is anything I did within the first 3 years is all practice. So even if I make not a very good video, I'll put it out there because I'm interested in showing the learning curve. It's, like I say, it's December now. In January, in May of next year, I will have been doing the channel for 3 years, and that's basically the target I've given myself. I ascribe myself to get to, however good I'm going to get. I hope to be somewhat professional, at least in attitude, by the time May of next year comes around. Still 5 months away, still plenty of time to improve. But in all honesty, I'm a bit doubtful about this video, quality-wise. I mean, just me meandering drunkenly now is... I don't know if this is entertaining, informative, or it even makes that much sense. I'm keeping my voice low. I think the sound quality will be down. I think I could do a more professional job when I'm at home, sober, just not in my relaxed mood. So if you're hearing this, I'll probably put this out just because I'm intrigued how it will look when it's all put together, if it marries up with what's in my head. You know, it's the first time I've done a video of this ilk, so I'll at least edit it together to see how it looks, and I'll probably put it out, but I can't vouch for the quality too much of it. It's going to be, kudos if you made it this far. That's all I'm saying. I strongly suspect I'm talking to absolutely no one at this point. The only person who's going to be listening to this back is going to be me. Anyway, you're not interested in my professional work ethics. I'm here to talk about the film. Like work ethics. Oh, look at this. Miles buys some pornography here over the counter. I mean, this dates the film, doesn't it? The thought that at the time you had to buy pornography over the shelf, not even in seedy little porn venues, porn shops, you know, buy over the counter in, you know, they sell it in petrol stations. I remember growing up, it was almost, I say growing up, you know, when I was in my late teens, it was almost early 20s, it was almost a mark of bravery. You know, did you dare go into a shop and buy pornography and look the guy in the face? We used to dare each other to do it. That dates the film to an early noughties movie. You know, you nowadays you just go to Miles looking at his phone. You get the same joke there. So a fascinating character, Miles, as I said earlier. You know, I talked about his self-destructive streak last night, but you can see his progression as a character here. He goes to meet Stephanie, Maya, sorry, but unfortunately, unbeknownst to him, it's her night off. So he just ends up getting very, very drunk and staggering out. Some marvellous drunk acting from Giamatti here, Wednesday. And here we have, aside from wine and literature, we have golf, which I really suspect is the passion of these two characters that they both bond over. They sort of tolerate each other's passions and foibles. You know, Jack doesn't really care that much about wine. He doesn't really care that much about literature. Um, and Miles doesn't really care that much about women and socializing. But even though Miles has a little mini breakdown here, you you can see that this is a game they both enjoy, golf. He tells him to get his book done, self-publish it, get it reviewed, get it in libraries, as if that's the zenith of what an author should aim for. Like great comedy double acts that really work. I think at the heart, what they should be are depictions of married couples, married couples who have been together way too long, who love each other but spend their time bickering. Did you hear me scratching my nuts then? That's what I was doing. I was halfway through and I thought this is gonna register on the audio. So here, Miles and Jack, they pretty much just abandoned their game, and it's not about the game for them. It's about having fun, terrorizing the other golfers who are acting like assholes. They're they're infantilized in a funny sort of way. These two characters. Again, as I said in the review, they're in the mid 40s, but they still act like they're in the mid 20s. Miles has the sexual maturity of a guy in his 20s, or maybe even earlier in his in his teens, and Jack also has the sexual maturity of a man in his teens and 20s. These are two guys that have had trouble maturing in a way. They're not acting like a lot of guys their age have done. It's telling they're both childless. They haven't had that sort of uh, major maturing event happen to them. And occasionally they lapse into these silly childish antics. Again, some more great soundtrack and cinematography here. I think really great films can just kick back from time to time from the story and just let the mise en scene carry it through. So certainly like Tarantino films manage to pull this trick. They're films that can just here's the character that has the beard that Giamatti tries to emulate. But yeah, really great films like the films of Tarantino can just kick back and just ride on their own aesthetic, really. And here we have the film having the great soundtrack play through. I still forgot to check the guy's name. I'll just put it up in a caption. And we have more of Feeding Papa Michael's great cinematography. You see here more of the slightly blown out Spielberg lighting, and here where they're having the picnic, the very pastel New Hollywood inspired look to the film. They are just sitting around a table getting drunk and stoned. This just looks like a good time here. So who's Mayor's driving here? Notice that I presume she's been drinking a lot today. She takes Miles home and a night of passion ensues. But yeah, that's something that always strikes me with this film, and it's never really addressed. But the drink driving aspect of it, I think it's just overlooked simply because the mechanics of the plot need the characters to get from place to place, and it would be boring if the film just showed them getting in taxis all the time or on the bus. So they just have the characters drive everywhere. But I mean, they're clearly drink driving in the film. Again, everything in the film feels genuine and relatable. Here we have some great police coital scenes. It's like they go straight to the relationship here. They're walking around a market looking for nice things to buy together. Now they're out having a picnic. Miles is doing the crossword and not really paying that much attention to her. It's like they've gone. She's right. They would be kind of perfect for each other because they feel like a married couple already. After, I mean, look, even here they're having a fight. But it feels the situation feels genuine and relatable. It does feel like the early days of a romance here, even though it goes sour very quickly. Look, it clearly does mean something. It means a lot to Miles. What's gone on? Giamatti makes you believe it's what he's saying. He's not bullshitting here. So lovely house. Now is oh, always in this film they follow up the very dramatic moments with high comedy, and this is a very funny scene. First, I think a lot of blokes have experienced this, where they've got laid the night before, or at least disappeared with someone into the night, and of course the next morning the best friend wants to know everything. I love Hayden Church's line, "You're a homo." Just very very funny line. Funny because it's not because of his a homophobic slur or anything, but because it's
put into the mouth of an idiot. Because of course he did get laid, but because he's in a bad mood about something else, Jack misreads it as misreads what he's saying, and so of course it must mean that he couldn't get it up because he's homosexual. And again, another cutaway to banal TV there. Why a man of his age would be watching, I think that's an MTV show, which is basically just people on what they call spring break in the States, dancing and wearing, just an excuse. I think it's a show from the 90s, but it was just an excuse to show titillating images. There's just something funny about Jack watching that. And this is the infamous Fraz Canyon scene. I don't know if Fraz Canyon is a real wine. I suspect not. The way you can see how cruel and cutting Miles is about their product here. There was actually a deleted scene before this, which is on the DVD, which you can see where Jack takes Miles to buy some trainers. He tries to cheer him up in his way, which is to buy him, some nice clothes, some nice attire, some nice apparel, because he knows that's what would cheer him up. And then he sees that isn't working, so they go to Fraz Canyon instead. But what I like about them excising that scene is I think it makes Jack that little bit more tender as a character, that he would be more thoughtful. They go straight to the canyon because he realises that that's what Miles would want to do, even though he picks a bad one. And then Miles gets the bad news here that his book isn't going to get published. Giamatti says that people have asked him, does he think that Miles is a good writer? And the way he played it, apparently, is more that Miles, given his position in life, he's an English teacher who just had aspirations, delusions of grandeur, maybe. And the fact that his novel was published, even though everyone says it is nice to him and says it's a great book, but there's no place for it in the market, the real truth is probably that Miles is probably just a mediocre writer, and he kind of knows it's probably why he drinks a little bit too much. The glass always looks, I always feel like it's going to shatter at that point, and disgusting. I like the confrontational way he throws the spittoon across the bar. I often wonder how many takes they did of that scene, because presumably, if things had gone wrong like 10 times, he'd have had to have 10 changes of clothes. And then, were all these scenes shot later on, he would have had to have worn the same outfit. I don't know, I'm probably overthinking this, but he would have had to have worn the same set of clothes with the exact same spattering of wine now dried all over him. More great face work from Giamatti. Half of my life is over and I have nothing to show for it. This scene made me go and Google Confederacy of Dunces. I wouldn't say Reddit because I don't read a lot. I read some, but not a lot. If I was a big reader, I probably would have read that by now. But I will. That's definitely a book I want to read. It sounds intriguing. Apparently, it's one of these novels that is just. It's not unfilmable, but there's a curse around it, like a Don Quixote movie. You know, Don Quixote was a famous film to adapt by a big name director. Orson Welles tried for years and just wasn't able to. And the same went for Terry Gilliam, who did eventually adapt it, and it came out last year, but then just disappeared without a trace. I don't know. I don't know if the film was that good. But the same goes for Confederacy of Dunces. It's one of these great, not one of the great novels written that's published 12 years or 11 years after the author's suicide. His only published work. No, one of two published works. And it's meant to be one of the great comedies in literature. There's been various attempts to adapt it into a film. I think most recently Will Ferrell tried to crack it but just couldn't get it together. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm reading Ready Player One at the moment, maybe, and that's an entertaining read, but it's not really enriching my life to read it. It's I just read it for fun. Maybe when I've done that, I was going to give Neuromancer a go. That's been one that I've been meaning to give a go for years. Now, maybe I'll give Confederacy of Dunces a go. All thanks to one little joke in this film, Sideways. So here Jack has had his nose broken by Stephanie, and they make the brave decision of having one of the lead actors play the rest of the film, the sort of the final 25 minutes of the film, with his face bandaged up, which is what happened in Chinatown as well. I don't know why people don't make more of a big deal of what a big decision that was for Chinatown to do, having your big star play most of the film with their face bandaged up, looking a little bit silly. Such a serious film. It's less of an issue here because, of course, this is a comedy. Jack looks slightly ridiculous, but then he is slightly ridiculous. He's a slightly ridiculous character. Here he gets the idea. Which will pay off towards the end of the film of faking a car accident. Steak and ribs and seafood. I think this is something else that really dates the film. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but the food in the film that these two characters consume, they're having ribs. They're meat eaters. They eat a lot of meat throughout the film. I don't know. I think if this was made now, I may be wrong, but I'd say at least Miles would probably be vegetarian slash vegan. Cammy. She's. I think this actress has been in other Alexander Payne films. I forget which. She is an actress, and she's. I like how homely looking she is. I think that's the uh, the nicest thing to say. I mean, yeah, she has a certain cuteness to her. I can certainly see why sorry, Jack would go for her. Um, but obviously, you've seen throughout the film that obviously he can do a lot better. So, well, it's not fair to say better, is it? He could possibly get somebody who was more conventionally attractive, and well, he has with his fiance. But here we get this amazing little scene where you see Jack's inner psychology at work, and him at his darkest and most manipulative. But it's still very, very funny what he says here as well. He tries to relate to Miles on what he thinks is his superficial level, saying you don't understand much. You understand wine and literature, but you don't understand my plight, and you never will. Yeah, because it's a plight he's on. He's not just some dumb male thinking with his dick. And then from the darkness again, back into a very funny moment of a guy who's lost his clothes. He asks for is it the Xanax or the Percodan? I forget my pills here. They ask for. Yeah, there's a deleted scene earlier on where you see them buying those pills and getting them on prescription and taking them, and you realise that the prescription drugs, which are a lot better in the States than they are in the UK, are now sort of equal in Miles's daily intake in his. The prescription drug high is up there with getting drunk for him. Hayden Church bears his soul here, and we get to see just. I think the start of the film, it really dwells dark and slightly pathetic character Miles is, but then in the third act it shifts onto Jack, and we see his dark side in these scenes. He's crying because he can't. He's saying he knows he's fucked up, and he has fucked up. He's begging for help from his best friend, but at the same time he's being kind of manipulative and overreacting. He's been a bit of a user, and then it carries on here in this scene where they go to get the wedding rings back because he's left his wallets at the house. And Mal says to him, "What's the plan?" And of course, the plan is for Miles to go in to get them. A potentially very dangerous situation, but 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 Jack can't go in because he's a coward. He says he'll go, but I think he's saying that because he knows Jack will go. Miles will go. I do apologise. These characters' names are interchangeable, and then this commentary is probably littered with examples of me saying Jack when I mean Miles and vice versa. So I hope you guys have been able to follow me on this one. Like I say, I have drunk a lot of red over the past 2 days. I'm not a big drinker. At least I've cut down a lot in the last 6 months. It's Christmas. Ugh, God. This house is disgusting. It's quite refreshing at this point in the film because it is such a beautiful looking film, and a lot of it is spent in tidy rooms, tidy locales that are tastefully decorated, or at least clean and tidy and cozy looking. And this is one of the few scenes set in an ugly location. It's a grotty, unkempt house, and it's inhabited by two grotty, low-life characters humping each other. And there's George Bush on the TV, coming straight after a scene of... Oh, I love what Giamatti does with his eyes there. So as them flip back and forth. And the actor who plays the wife of the waitress, he was in Lost. I forget his name. I was going to mention this scene in the review, but I left it out for no other it was running a bit long, and I knew I had to lose something, and decided to lose mentioning that because it wasn't really really that important, other than to say, "Oh, isn't this actor brave to do this?" He was in Lost, that guy. But I left it out because the film I reviewed before this was Britannia Hospital, and I put a male full frontal nude shot in that, Malcolm McDowell, and I thought if I did the same in this, it would start to look just start to look a bit weird. Like I've got this mild obsession with the male penis. Um, but as a male, I think that's fine to put naked males as and when you see fit in your reviews, in your videos. I think it would be an even worse reflection on me if I just put breasts all the way through naked women. The Big Lebowski was, I think, the first film that started realistic car accidents. I remember my brother saying, because before The Big Lebowski, a car accident was a very dramatic thing when depicted in a film. You know, it would maybe happen in slow motion and glass would shatter and hit the actors' faces in slow motion. And there would be music playing. And The Big Lebowski was the first film to portray a car crash realistically and make a car crash funny. You know, just the Bad Moon Rising sequence where it's all in one shot and he just suddenly swerves off and hits the side of the street, and it's very, very funny. And this film takes its cue on how to shoot the car crash bit in this. From The Big Lebowski, it's very much shot in the same way of just one static shot of the car heading straight to the tree, and then when it hits it, there's no big music sting or big sound effects or anything or shattering the glass. It's just a very realistic thud sound. That's what you get in car accidents, just a horrible loud thud sound. So he has to lie his way out of it, Jack, by pretending he was in an accident. But I can imagine her fiance still being quite pissed off that his face will be bandaged up in all the wedding photos. But I guess it's the least of Jack's concerns. If he, obviously, the alternative would have been a lot worse. The alternative, if she knew the truth, would probably be no wedding. So what? Yeah, he's not Russian Orthodox, but I guess this is a Russian Orthodox wedding. It's going ahead, so seems he got away with it. There we get a little look between our two protagonists. and this is the kind of the end of their story. They've come through it all. This is really the last moment they share together. There's a very little wry smile, and again, Giamatti sells it well. It's very genuine. The smile between them, and it says everything. It says, "Oh, we've got through this adventure together." Ultimately, wasn't it? Wasn't it fun? Wasn't it a laugh? Yeah, I think Miles has enjoyed his week much more than he enjoys this moment when he meets his ex-wife, and she admits to him that he's pregnant. And as a scene, this is absolutely painful. I believe Alexander Payne's direction to Giamatti was just keep smiling, even though your heart's breaking, because he obviously still loves this woman, and just looking at her, he's looking at what his life he feels should be at this point, and that's the great dichotomy of what he's been wrestling with, and probably why he can't move on with Maya. It's because he still, on some fundamental level, loves this woman. I forget the actress's name, but of course, she was the woman from Friends, the woman who's Ross's wife left him for. I can't even remember Ross's wife's name, let alone what her character was called, or indeed the actress's name. But again, next time, folks, next time I'll just be able to Google away. Here we get some of those. He knows now. He knows that she's pregnant, and we get some of those wonderful pained expressions on Giamatti's faces. His single face. I do apologise for. You can hear. I'm sitting on a bed right now. You can hear my bed springs going all over this thing. I'll try and stay still for the rest of the film. We're not long to go now, folks. Well done. Major kudos to you if you've made it this far. Like I say, I think you'll benefit more if you. I have been taking screenshots of the film throughout this film, throughout me talking here, but I do think the best way to experience this is to be playing the film in the background. Hopefully it's all kind of syncing up with what I'm saying. And I missed it yesterday, what his expensive wine now is. So he goes to some horrible, greasy fast food place. I forget the line, what Mayer says. There's a reason he drinks it now. So he has a horrible burger and some massive onion rings. Look, you think he's drinking a soft drink. He reaches down and he pours Chateau Cheval. So I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the 61 drink that he's been saving for a special occasion, but he doesn't know when to drink. And there's some line earlier on about I don't know when the right occasion will be, and she says something like the day you open it will be the day when that special occasion is, or something like that. There's the line something like that. I forget, but it's one of those details you only notice on like the fifth viewing. That oh yeah, that's the wine he's drinking at the end. That's why that scene's in there. This is the only scene of Miles teaching in the film. He goes back to his flats. And another detail that dates the film is the answer phone message. Having to go back home to hear an answer phone message, or missing a call because you were out of the house, or the flat in his case. And here Maya is telling Miles that she really enjoyed his novel, and it sounds genuine. I think she really did enjoy his novel. However, if you're friends with anyone who has a kind of creative bent in them, your judgment of their art can a lot of the time be coloured by your knowledge of the personality. Sometimes it's hard to take that out of the equation. But I mean, I don't think Miles would have written a bad book. I'm sure he does have some spark as a writer. But I don't think he's written... He's obviously tried to write the great American novel. I don't think that's what he has produced. And here Miles goes and knocks on the door, and that's where the film ends. And according to Giamatti, what he thinks happens there is that an old woman answers the door and says, "Oh, sorry, Maya moved away 3 weeks ago and I don't have a forwarding address." But the beauty of film is that when things are left open-ended, as all the best films do, and actually trusts the audience to have imaginations of their own, you can make up your own ending. If you want it to be a happy ending, if you want Maya to answer the door, then that's what happened. Because it's unseen, then it can be whatever you want it to be. By the same token, if you want the unhappy ending, then that's also an option. Anything could happen when that door opens. Again, this was inspired by Hollywood New Wave, and what was, one of the defining factors of Hollywood New Wave, at least everything from The Graduate to The Godfather, they were defined by them not having happy endings. They were inspired by European New Wave, which went against the happy ending, and shook up cinema in a lot of other ways as well. Here, Payne sort of tries to have his cake and eat it by giving an ending that's neither one or the other. Left entirely up to the imagination of the viewer. I use the entirety of this closing credits music in my review. So it took you wouldn't think, but it took a long time to. Not a long time, but I gave an overly description of the plot, and this music seemed to cover that completely. It seems weird because it's quite a simple plot. Anyway, I'm going to sign off now, folks, because, as I say, my intention is for these to run concurrently with the film, and we're just coming towards the end of the credits now. So again, if you've stuck with it this far, thanks. Those are my thoughts on Sideways, and maybe I'll do another one of these. If not, it's been fun. It's been emotional. See ya.